Alright, chat, welcome to the show as Lixian Doppelganger. Thank you for the $5. I really appreciate it. Challenge 1 week without a basketball American committing atrocity. Difficulty impossible. Well, didn't we have Pride Month last week, or what was it, like 2 weeks ago? I'm pretty sure we're having a very diverse month with people from all walks of life appearing on CNN. Although this gentleman, I don't think he appeared on CNN, mostly appeared on social media. Very interesting, especially when websites like CNN, they do ambulance chase. Last time I checked, that there was like that white gentleman that suffocated a black American, and it was on every single news channel, everywhere he went. This one in particular, maybe it's not that sensational, maybe it wouldn't get the clicks, you know, the journalists are looking at the ratings, the profitability. The advertisers may not like it, but for one reason or another, we just didn't see this article being covered. Until today, actually. Let me see if I can find the headline. Because, you know, a lot of individuals were like, well, you know, why isn't the mainstream media covering it? Why isn't the mainstream media covering it? And so they got their wish. Except the mainstream media had a very interesting take. This is from Axios. Axios. Let me see if it's safe to show on YouTube. I think it is safe to show on YouTube. They started with a very interesting headline. Stabbing video fuels MAGA's crime message. Oh, Dios mío. Now, before we begin, I would like to tell you what happened, right? Like what transpired in case you're new, or in case maybe you're not an American. It is shocking. It is kind of shocking, not gonna lie. It's And I'll explain why it's shocking, but rarely do you get to see such an image, right? And this was showed on social media. It went viral, and the mainstream media refused to talk about it. People call it demonic, and I think like you can. It's not like the aesthetics of it. It's also the reason behind it. So why would you call it demonic? Every nation has crime, right? Like there is no nation on planet Earth where there is no murder, there is no death. Like, of course, when you have like millions of people living together, it takes one person. But most people, like when they're talking about crime, they kind of understand it. Like, you don't have to agree with something to understand it, right? Like you can put yourself into the shoes of a criminal and you can understand like what motivates them. And so there's like different types of crimes. There's crimes of passion where, you know, people can't control their emotions. People act irrationally. Like there are people that are hardwired wrong and their emotions are not fit for social life. And so road rage, for instance, right? Like why would a person kill someone in a road? Because they got so angry they couldn't control it, right? Is it justifiable? No. But like, you can understand what the person is thinking. You kind of get what's in their mind. A person comes home and sees their wife having sex with the neighbor, and they grab the shotgun, right? Is it justifiable? Well, in this case, like some people would say yes. I'm saying no, because you're going to waste your life in prison. There are other ways, my brother in Christ, but again, like most people can understand the mindset. Like they look at that and they can see, all right, I see how that can happen, right? There are crimes that are done because people want to make money. It's not necessarily because they're poor. It's just like, well, they want to make money. And so, again, you can understand that as well. It's like you have a person that is financially tempted. They for whatever reason, don't want to get a legal job, and they do criminal activity. Now, again, it's not about agreeing with it. It's about like understanding the motivation. What is the motive behind the crime? Money. Okay, fine. So we have money. We have people that can't keep their emotions in check, right? We have passions. You can have crimes that happen because of a social nature. Like someone grows up in the hood, they grow up in the street, they surround themselves with bad individuals, and there's peer pressure. Like it's peer pressure to show that you're a man, right? You like, look how they talk to you. You can't take. Are you going to take that shit, right? And you're next to your friends. Now if you take that shit, well, you get punked on, right? So now you're the victim. And again, I'm not justifying it, but I have seen it happen. Like I understand these social dynamics. What I don't understand is this. There is absolutely no reason for why this happened. None whatsoever. It cannot be explained. Let alone justified. So, what do I mean by this? Well, you have this lady, which apparently is a Ukrainian refugee, and very interestingly, no one with the refugee flags on Twitter were very interested in talking about this subject. And a lot of people were saying that she was probably safer in a war zone than in the United States metro. And there's a video, I can't show it on YouTube because I generally don't know what the policy is anymore. Like they have a compendium of policy, so like maybe I can just show this and it's fine. but like all she does is she sits on the chair and she does the one thing you shouldn't ever do in a situation like this, which is to relax. She relaxed, right? And she was on the phone. That's it. And from behind, you have this gentleman with a lot of convictions, a huge rap sheet, which usually the mainstream media, when the situations are reversed, completely ignores the rap sheets. But anyway, right, like they had a huge rap sheet. So in other words, like the American government was aware that this is a dangerous individual that they decided to let on the streets. And for no reason whatsoever, he just takes a knife and does this. And what follows is also incredibly bizarre, bewildering, I would say. The person commits the murder, takes off their shirt, and then just walks around the cart. And everyone is just chill, everyone is just minding their own business, as if nothing ever happened. Now, I'm not saying, like, you're supposed to help, because, like, I understand that in America, if you try to help, you end up on CNN. So I get the mentality. But what shocks me is, like, people weren't even afraid. Like, no one was scared, no one was screaming, no one was even trying to get out of the way. It was like seeing a movie. It was so fucking bizarre, right? Like, this is the epitome of a demoralized society. And then, what's even worse is that you see the judge that was involved in this, and instead of, like, talking about the victim, she doesn't even mention the victim. Sorry, not the judge. I think it was the mayor, a politician. Doesn't even talk about the victim. Like, she's like, oh, mental health issues. And we need to have, like, more compassion for people with mental health. It's like, okay, lady, you know, you take this gentleman with mental health issue in your house and give him all the compassion that he needs. So, now that you understand the story, we can carry on. Zlixian says, I am 100% racist now. To be fair, I do think that racism is what actually got America here. Because they saw race so clearly. It's like the entire BLM movement, the entire demoralizing the police, the entire, like even the concept of shutting down mental asylums, like all of these things created a situation where if you try to help, because like, look, the government doesn't even need to stop it. That's the interesting thing. People would stop it. Like, people on the subway, you know, if they were allowed to have guns, they would have stopped it. Like, in a normal society, you'd pull this shit in Eastern Europe, you don't need the police. Like, people stop it, right? But the government was putting a situation called a narco-tyranny, where they're siding with the criminals. And it's like, well, if the criminal commits a crime, he's misunderstood, he's a victim of society, he needs counseling, he's got mental issues, and the problem is that society doesn't understand the mental issues. And the reality, of course, is also the drugs, right? And when you have, like, the drug dealers taken out, you have, like, the left going, well, what are you doing? Why are you taking out the drugs? No. Have you not read The Mockingbird? And so, like, you end up with this situation where it looks as if the politicians are siding with the criminals all the time, right? And if you try to stop the criminal, you become the criminal. If the guy was white, they wouldn't be talking about mental health. That's also a good point. Yes, I kind of agree. Again, like, the government, the left, sees race incredibly clearly. Actually, you know, what am I saying? Like, they have initiatives. They have people that are paid, like Robin DiAngelo and other speakers, that do want you to see race. Like, that's their whole shtick, right? A lot of people blame liberalism, but it's progressivism. Like, progressive is the one that's saying, no, you should see race, and you need to understand these people are marginalized, so on and so forth. Montesquieu, thank you for 55 euros. I know you from Gamergate 1 days, back when you posted your takes by Vokaru on E-Bombs. LOL. Hope you're doing well, man. Glad I could finally catch you on a live stream. Well, I'm glad that you finally caught me on a live stream. And I'm upset that I don't have a story from France now that you donated so much. Inflict consequences on the judges. Well, here's an interesting take, right? And this is something that I came up with, and I haven't gotten a response yet. In America, there are a couple of states where if you are a bartender and you give a person with a car to drink, knowingly that they have a car, and then the person goes out and they commit a car crash, you're responsible. But if you're a judge and you see a person that's mentally unwell, and I mean, it's easy to predict that they're going to commit a crime again, right? And you let them on the street, you're not responsible. So yes, like, in a way, there is absolutely no accountability for judges. Now, look, I'm not saying that judges should be held accountable on every single case, because obviously, you know, they're still human beings. Humans make mistakes. Unfortunately, I understand if you're a judge, a mistake is going to cost someone a lot. But statistically speaking, if you have like 10,000 cases, 1% of them you're going to fuck up. I think everyone agrees with this, right? But still, like, what if you fuck 60% of the cases? What if you fuck 80% of the cases? Shouldn't there be some consequences, some accountability? I think one of the judges who said let the guy go also works on facilities that care for such cases after they are convicted. Totally not corruption. Yeah, I keep trying to explain to a lot of people from America that they just happen to live in Eastern Europe and they don't know it yet. This is just pure grift. Like, a lot of people think, oh, it's just race and compassion and shit. And while I'm pretty sure that in some cases it is ideological, in other cases it's just pure grifting. Like this particular situation, if you have a judge that has like a facility to take care of mentally ill people, especially the ones that are being convicted, and she gives these types of sentencings, which benefits her facility, like, that is a conflict of interest. That is corruption. I think one of the judges who has... Oh, okay, I read this one. True. Liberalism says this guy is no different than the Ukrainian woman. Now, what liberalism says is that under the law, he is... the same law that applies to him should apply to the liberal woman. So if the liberal woman would have stabbed someone, she should get the exact same amount of time that this guy gets. That's what liberalism says. I don't know, like, who is interested in perverting the liberal ideology. I think it's Sargon of Akkad. But, like, at least let's assess correctly what liberalism claims. Liberalism as an ideology happens as a response to the right of kings. Like, before our time, there used to be monarchies and kingdoms. And sometimes, just like we have corrupt politicians, right? Imagine having a king like Michelle Obama, or a king like... Hillary Clinton. Right? You wouldn't like that. Especially, it ended up in the late French monarchy, like before Napoleon, the aristocrats, they would party while the people were starving. Anyway, regardless, liberalism basically says that everyone is equal under the law. Why? Because in a feudal society, you're not equal under the law. You have God, and under God you have the king, and the king is sent by God on earth to rule your country. And the church partakes into this gaslighting. Like the church coronates the king, right? So like the church is the one that interprets the divine. And the church says, yes, like God sent the king here. They put a crown on him. Then the king elects his camarilla, his circle of friends that are the aristocracy. And the king has absolute right to rule. And the aristocracy is better than you by default. Like if you're born a peasant, you are a peasant. The aristocracy is by default better than you. And they have like different laws. For instance, if a peasant rapes a woman, then he can get the rope. If an aristocrat rapes a woman, then he can pay a fine. Certain crimes don't even apply to aristocrats, right? So like liberalism comes up and says, hold on a little bit, this is kind of fucked up. No, let's have like the Roman system, where you have citizens and everyone is equal under the law. Now the progressives come up and they say, no, everyone is equal, period. Okay? That's not liberalism, that's communism. Like if you can't differentiate between these two ideologies, I don't know what to say, but like at least make the criticism accurate. Liberalism doesn't claim that lady is the same like that man. I mean, let's have a look at the picture again, right? Like equal in what? Clearly not in behavior, like she's law-abiding, he isn't. Clearly not in size, I mean she's small, he isn't. Clearly not in strength. Probably not even in finances. Like how is this lady equal to him? No, liberalism would say that the law should apply equally, right? So if anything, you live in an illiberal society because as you pointed out, if the man would have been white, no one would have talked about, mental health issues and try to avoid and pussyfoot around the issue, right? So the system is illiberal, it's progressive. That's what you're trying to complain about. It's a progressive system, an illiberal one. In fact, I wouldn't even say that the system is progressive anymore, because like that's not what's happening. Like right now in the world, it's not really about ideology as much as it's about technocracy. In other words, like the way to manipulate the masses using social media and using mainstream media has been perfected to such an extent that they don't really have an ideology. Like they will say whatever needs to be said for the grift to keep going. So if you have a grift like a judge that also runs a company that, quote unquote, heals people that are mentally ill and are released from their punishment, then her interest is to keep the money train going. And if it requires for her to start talking about Black Lives Matter and defund the police and all that, that's what she's going to say. Doesn't mean that she believes it. Like, obviously, if someone comes to her house to burglarize her, she's going to want to call the cops, right? The reason that she says this is because this is what needs to be said in order to get her grift going. And if it wasn't for progressive ideology, she would say something else. She would say literally whatever it takes, right? And so I don't think it's an ideological thing. I think it's a technological thing. I think people are really easy to manipulate using social media, mainstream media. And that's pretty much what's happening. And it's, of course, the welfare state as well. Because like without the welfare state, you cannot fund all of this nonsense. Like the government, the main problem that you have right now is the safetyism and the crackdown on freedom of expression. Because like if people were allowed to express themselves, if people were allowed to actually talk against this nonsense, and not just on a YouTube channel, but like everywhere, then the solution would get fixed immediately. But people aren't allowed to talk about it, right? They get canceled, they get banned, they get zooked. And so that's the real issue. Hold on a little bit. I think the stream froze. Like, what's going on with social media lately? Twitter is working poorly. YouTube is working poorly. Yeah, you guys were typing and I wasn't seeing anything. That's why we say voting doesn't matter. But, like, voting brought you here, right? It's not like in Romania. In Romania, you can say voting doesn't matter because they canceled an election. But like when you look at places like Chicago and you see a lady that was a victim of a carjacking and she's got a broken arm and she's basically saying, look, I don't want any maggots here. I don't want like people with their fascism and their Trump supporting to come over here. It's not like voting doesn't matter. It does matter. It's just like there's more people like her and there's more criminals, and together they overwhelm the people that are against that. So like, what can you do if you have a city where like literally the overwhelming amount of people want to be victimized? Like, I know it's insane. I agree, you know, like, I can't wrap my mind around it. But, like, what do you do if such a city does exist? And you're like, well, you have a right to save them. But, like, they outnumber you. Like, you're in the minority. You don't have the manpower. You don't have the strength. You don't have anything, right? The people there genuinely want to live like that. And so what do you do? She's Jewish. Okay, but, like, what happens if most people agree with the Jews? Like, you have a city where, like, most people are saying, yeah, you know, the Jews have a point. What do you do then? What's the solution? Because that's the thing, you know, like you say voting doesn't work, but, like, these people have voted consistently for neo-feudalism. Like, of course, at some point, they're going to get neo-feudalism. Kaibar Barbecue, did you ever look up the man of Al-Zut? No, I have not. Monarchists are just mad that they can't convince enough normies to support their policies. Monarchism doesn't work in 2025. Like, you can't take ideologies from the Middle Ages and think like, oh yeah, sure, with the technology we have today, they're going to work. The reason monarchy worked back in the day, and it's also the reason why it collapsed today, right? Like, you gotta wonder, like, why did monarchy collapse? It's not a system designed to govern over hundreds of millions of people. It struggles with it. It collapses eventually. Why? The way that monarchy used to work is that you need every single person to believe in God. Not to be a Christian like Sargon, or a Christian like on Twitter, where they're like, yeah, you know, Christianity is good, but let's have Christianity without the God. No. Like, you need to believe, genuinely have people that believe that there is an Almighty. It's not like just a hypothetical, or like there may be, no, like they need to believe that they're being watched constantly, and once they die, they also need to believe that their soul will be judged. And so when you have those people with that belief, you tell them that the king is sent by God. So when you rebel against the king, you're not rebelling against the human government, you're rebelling against the divine. You're kind of like Lucifer, right? Like, this is why treason is like one of the worst crimes. It's like you're not just rebelling against the state, you're rebelling against the state and the church. Why is this important? Well, without this, you can't have a monarchy, because the monarchy has a single point of failure. If anything bad happens, people blame the king, because he's in charge, right? So, in a normal monarchy, it's unthinkable to blame the king or go after the king, right? But in the year 2025, when people know that the king is just a man, they're aware that the king has the same flaws and ambitions that most men do. The king can get greedy, the king can be corrupt and all of that, and you understand all that. Well, how do you prevent rebellions? This is why you don't have monarchies. The only monarchies that you can actually have in 2025 are the type of monarchies that you have in North Korea. And in North Korea, it is kind of like a feudal kingdom. Like, you do have the inner party members that are like the aristocrats, and their children are also going to be inner party members, so it's kind of hereditary. And you look at the president, right, like Kim Jong-un, like he has his position inherited from his father, and he is going to pass on the position also in his family. So it's hereditary nature. They use different titles, but at the end of the day, it's like a medieval kingdom. And the reason that it works is because they actually believe that Kim Jong-un is divine. That Kim Jong-un is like actually anointed by the heaven, and they have like all of the nonsense, like, you know, the birds were singing and talking when he was born. And in order to keep the gaslight, they actually have to shut down the entire nation and make sure that no one actually knows what's going on in South Korea or what's going on outside of North Korea, because it destroys their entire shit, right? Now, you do have like other kingdoms like Japan, right? And the United Kingdom, but they're not really what monarchists want. Like, when I talk to Spoons, he doesn't want the United Kingdom because the role of the monarchy is symbolic there. No, like, they want the monarchy of the medieval time where the king has absolute rule. Again, like, it's not that the system wouldn't probably solve some problems, but it's like people would rebel, it wouldn't work. China is not really like North Korea. China is more like Imperial China. China is a lot more pragmatic in the sense, like, people don't think that the Chairman Z is anointed by God, and they're also aware that Chairman Z is not the dictator. For the public, for the facade, he kind of is, but in reality, it's the inner party member and the oligarchs. It's more like Russia. Right? Like, you have an oligarchy in China, and there's like various factions with different interests. It's not like we had Ceausescu in Romania or like Stalin in the Soviet Union. It's a more complex system. I would definitely compare it with Imperial China. I think like that's the communism that they have today is not communism at all. Monarchy works perfectly well in Russia and China. Yeah, but the thing is, like, in China, it's not hereditary. You can become a Chinese inner party member without inheriting it, and probably who comes after Z is not going to be from his family. Saudi Arabia, I think, is close. I don't know the system exactly, but I think like Muslims may actually believe that the Saudi government is blessed by Allah. I'll have to check. Again, like, if you have this idea of religion blessing the king, then it works. But the problem in modern time is that most people are educated and they know that in the Bible it never claims that God has anointed a king, right? In medieval society, the Bible was actually written in Latin, and the priests would preach it also in Latin. So, like, if you're a French person and you're hearing it in Latin, you don't know what they're talking about. SRC Maker, holy shit, $100, Jesus. I can retire early, chat. What about the Saudis, V? Combining king religion there. Well, we were just talking about it. See? I wasted $100 from you. Also, I'm restarting my mission to convince you to buy a dual monitor. You're already a capitalist, so embrace wasteful capitalism like me. Here's the funds to start. And you need it, so it's not wasteful. I'm not going to buy another monitor. I am going to buy a iPad. Well, not necessarily an iPad, like any type of tablet. So I'm going to get a tablet next month. I need it, you're right. I got some Argentinian pesos, enough with the 13% lips V. Oof. Okay, let's see what this article is saying, because like I wanna talk about Grizzly Charlotte. Grizzly. Stabbing video fuels MAGA crime message. So MAGA influencers are drawing repeated attention to a violent attack to elevate the issue of urban crime and accuse mainstream media of undercovering shocking cases. Well, it's not like, look, if the mainstream media would refuse to ambulance chase, right? Like, if the mainstream media, whenever there's a crime, unless it's like something that is of public interest, they would choose not to report on it, then I would understand. But like, the fact is that after 10 years, a lot of people have noticed that the mainstream media absolutely sees color. And when it's white on black crime, they immediately report it. When it's black on white crime, they ignore it. And okay, it happens once, twice, 3 times, but like at some point, you know, they notice. So like, either they would cover all the crimes, right, regardless of the nature, or they cover no crimes. But like the selective covering, yes, like it makes people on MAGA feel as if they're purposefully being targeted by the mainstream media through ignorance. As I mentioned before, right? Like, and some people don't agree with this take. I think it's true though. The opposite of love is not hate, because they're both strong emotions, right? Love and hate. The opposite of love is indifference. And like, if you see that people are suffering and you're choosing indifference. So anyway, shocking video. A knife attack. Interesting that they actually named the victim. The rising number of surveillance camera in public spaces, including on Charlotte's Trail, has become a big accelerant in these cases. The video is easily shared or leaked and can instantly pollinate across social media. Well, I mean, they weren't upset when you had the George Floyd video, right? Like the George Floyd video that got leaked, and it was on every single website, right? And it actually caused hundreds of millions of dollars in damages. Or when you had like that guy that tried to stop another criminal in a metro, and he ended up arrested. I forgot his name, right? Like I've never seen Axios complain about these cases before, and this is why like people from MAGA are bringing it up. It's like it's almost like they have like two types of articles: one written for when it's a white victim, and one written when it's a black victim. Why the disparity, right? President Trump asked about the Charlotte video by a reporter, said he wanted to find out more about the stabbing before commenting. This is exactly what he's talking about. It's going to be an issue he's going to highlight. Well, from my understanding, what Trump wants to do is he wants to open the mental asylums. Now, there is a problem with the mental asylums. I gotta be honest. I don't know how many of you are aware. But there is a reason why they got closed down. And the reality is, like, most people at the time did actually support the shutdown of mental asylums. If you go on Wikipedia and you look for punitive psychiatry, that's actually how it's called. Let me see if I can find it. And I know Wikipedia is not a good source, but like it actually shows you that there are certain concepts that exist. Right? Oh my goodness, it has the trans flag? What the fuck? Why does it have the trans flag? Why did they add the trans colors to it? So fucking weird. It's got, like, it's not connected to trans ideology at all, but okay. Anyway, punitive psychiatry, as you can see, it's also called political abuse of psychiatry. Refers to the misuse of psychiatry diagnosis, detention, and treatment to suppress individuals or groups in human rights in society. So basically, the Soviets were masters of this. And it wasn't just the Soviets. As you can see, like, there are cases allegedly in Canada. I mean, China apparently has a lot of these cases. A lot of Soviet nations like Cuba, Germany, also under communism. Japan, I didn't know, like, Japan would be in it. Romania was a huge case. Again, under communism. Like, most of the nations under the Soviet bloc, they use punitive psychiatry, right? You have, look how many in Soviet Union. But as you can see, like, it's also in the United States. Now, in the United States, most of these weren't systematic, if you will. But there were enough cases where people were arrested, right? And so it caused a scandal. So, for instance, like American Psychiatric Association was fit to be president, The Unconscious of a Conservative, a special issue on Mind of Barry Goldwater. This led to the adoption of an ethical rule against diagnosis of public figure by a clinician who was not performative on the exam, blah, blah, blah. Okay, so what does this mean? Well, the whole Western punishment system, the one that we're using today, is not like the medieval one, right? Like in medieval times, they would break the wheel, they would call it, right? Like usually torture in public, whipping, flogging, beheadings, cutting off of an arm or something. It was cheaper, and it was to scare people straight, right? Like nothing convinces people to stop doing crime than to seeing a guy having his legs broken in public. Okay? And so, like, that was also entertainment for the public. But anyway, right, that's how they used to punish them. However, as time moves on and nations become more rich and they can afford the American style, which is like the penal system, they consider that Christianity is correct in the concept of mercy and redemption. And so, the whole idea of the prison system is that you take a human being that has a soul, right, is made in the image of God, and just like God is capable of love, compassion, and everything else, but, you know, he had his demons, he did something bad, and so you take that human being, you put him in a prison where he suffers, he experiences suffering there, and after a couple of years, you know, he can be rehabilitated. Because again, it's the Christian concept of redemption, the Christian concept of mercy. And so for like some crimes, they believe that, well, if a person is isolated, they have time to think. They will see the error of their ways and become a pillar of the community. Now, what happens if you have a person that doesn't understand? Not in the sense that they don't want to understand, but like they're not mentally capable of understanding. What do you do then? Like, you can put them in a prison, sure, you know, and you're punishing them for something that they don't know it's wrong. And when you release them, there's no transformation there. Like, they're not understanding why they got locked up. They don't understand like what they did is wrong. So like when you release them, they're going to do it again. And so Christians consider that this is unethical. You can't punish someone that they don't know that what they did is wrong. And so for them, you have another problem. It's like, okay, we don't punish them. They can't be rehabilitated. But what about the innocent people? What about the people that live in society and now have to live under fear that there's a monster on the street? Sure, you know, like maybe the monster doesn't understand that it's wrong to kill you. But what do? You know, you still don't want to die. And so for those people, you have the mental asylums. The mental asylums weren't there to rehabilitate, although in some cases they could try and heal them, very rarely, but they were there to contain, right? So like you put someone on trial and you conclude that, okay, well, they're mentally ill. They don't understand what they did. And you have a psychiatrist, they ask him, how did you feel like if you didn't have breakfast in the morning? They can't answer. It's like, okay, we got a retard. So you put them in a mental asylum. The problem is that now liberals believe that we have like sci-fi level of mental health. In other words, a person that is mentally ill, they go to an asylum, they get pills, and they get better. I don't know why they believe this. I mean, if you see a person that's paralyzed in a car crash, right? Like you see a person that has his spine broken. And that person can never walk again. Like there's nothing that modern medicine can do for them. Like they will forever not be able to walk. Why would they believe that a person that's taking drugs and now has like the entire brain fucked because of that, right? Or maybe they're born in a way with brain damage? Or whatever other conditions, like maybe a hormonal imbalance or whatever. Why do they believe that every single one of these cases can be rehabilitated? What if they can't? What is like having a broken spine? Like you're going to be like that for the rest of your life. And so like, what is the Christian thing to do here? Because like, if you put them in a prison, it doesn't work. They're not going to rehabilitate, right? Like they don't even know that what they did is wrong. If you put them in a mental asylum, they're going to stay there forever. And so far, like, the solution that used to be is like, well, they will have to be in a mental asylum forever, not for their benefit, but for the public's benefit. Because at the end of the day, like, most normal people, they want to be able to sit in the metro without being attacked. Leftists in America said, no, that's not okay, because human rights. Okay. The reality is that there were abuses. Why were there abuses? Well, let's put it this way. If you want to arrest someone, right? Like if the government finds a person that's inconveniencing. Perfect example would be Marie Le Pen, right? So like they find a Marie Le Pen. They don't like her. What do? Well, they try lawfare against her. And they did actually. They tried suing her for, you know, I think like she was... they said she was embezzling funds from the EU, didn't allow her to run, whatever. I don't know what happened with the lawsuit, but like that's one possibility. Now, the thing with lawfare is that you have to bring evidence. The person has to defend themselves. Like they have the ability to hire a judge. They have the ability to interrogate witnesses. And so it's a lot more difficult to get rid of someone if you have lawfare, right? And even when you punish them, let's say you have a corrupt judge, like in the case of Le Pen. You have a corrupt judge and the sentence is finite. You can't arrest them for life. But let's talk about psychiatry, right? What if they would say, well, she's insane? And they actually did. Like, you can Google it. There were articles in the press where they said that Marie Le Pen is mentally ill. Well, in that case, you don't need a judge, you need a doctor. Because this is not a legal matter anymore, it's a health issue, right? So you get a doctor, and they say, okay, Marie Le Pen is ill, mentally ill. You can also tell the public, this is what they did in the Soviet Union. Anyone that reads or parrots her message should be careful, because mental illness is contagious. And once you get a person into a mental asylum, it's very difficult to get them out. Usually, a doctor needs to sign on that. But the problem is, like, the doctor takes responsibility for the person, right? So, like, if the person gets out and commits another crime, the doctor is responsible. And so if you're the doctor, the incentive is just to not sign. And so you have people that end up being stuck in a mental asylum for decades. And they don't know when they're coming out. It's horrible. But unfortunately also necessary. Like, you cannot have people that are stabbing in the subway. And it's also not fair to put them in a prison. Because they're not fit to be in a prison, right? Like, it's not fair for the other convicts. Like, you may have a guy that did tax evasion and you put him with that. Maybe a guy that did a vehicle manslaughter. He didn't want to. But, you know, it happens. Sometimes make the wrong decision. You wouldn't want a cellmate like that. Funny you mentioned Marie Le Pen, says Lazy One. The French government just collapsed due to no confidence. How many times has it happened in recent years for the French government to collapse? Like now, please tell me when the French government is stable. Because that would actually be newsworthy. This, it's like, oh, the French government collapsed. I don't fucking care. Congo Bongo, thank you for the €2. Send crazy to an asylum forever versus a coffin. Well, it depends on the crime they commit, right? Because, like, you can't just issue the death penalty for, like, everyone. And by the way, I don't know how many people were aware, but apparently, like, the death penalty is far more expensive than life in prison. I didn't know that. I felt like the death penalty is actually cheaper. But no, it's actually the other way around. Yeah. Well, to be fair, what the people from Afghanistan did, because I was actually curious, like, what did the Taliban did? Sorry about that. They just locked the drug addicts up. But the thing is, like, my understanding is that their drug addicts were on la cocaína. And la cocaína, not just la cocaína, but also pot and stuff like that, like American shit. That's actually a lot easier to get out of the system, right? Like, you lock a guy up, and when you release him, well, he's gone through the withdrawals. Depending if Allah wants him to go through the withdrawal or not. Some people don't make it. So, that's how they did it. But, like, in America, you have la fentanila. And la fentanila is a lot more dangerous. Only because of the court costs of the appeals? Yeah, but, like, come on. It's human nature that people are going to appeal. I don't think, like, there's many people that are going to look at the death penalty and they're going to say, well, I mean, that sounds pretty reasonable. I'm not going to appeal. No, like, every person is going to appeal the death penalty. Although, I don't even know if I would, to be honest. Just so you understand what the death penalty is. Let's see if I can find... Okay, so, a lot of people think that the death penalty, like, the worst part of it is the actual execution. And I was shocked to find out that it's not. Like, the execution is actually the least worst thing about the death penalty. The number one problem with the death penalty is this. And I think, like, this one is actually luxurious because it's like a 3D modeling and it actually looks good. But in reality, you get less. and I don't even know if you get a shower in your cell, right? Like this is but basically imagine a place the size of your bathroom, okay? And that's it. Like there's no radio, there's no television, there's no books. Like you may get a Bible, and that's it. This is your life. Like you may not even know if there's sun outside. If not, the only thing you get is like 1 hour of yard time that the guards are trying to cheat you out of it. The way they usually cheat you out of it, from my understanding, is they come at 5 a.m. in the morning or at 6 a.m. and they ask, like whispering. It's like, hey, do you want yard time? And if you don't hear that, they will say, well, like we came, but, and even yard time, it's like you're alone with a bunch of bars and you can move a little bit more than the cell. And imagine being like this for like 30 years. The Americans say they don't have cruel or unjust punishment. I would probably take the chair. I'm like, no fucking way. The chair is over quickly. This one is just like the worst thing you can imagine. So anyway, on top of that, if you committed crimes that hurt women or kids, you're a target by the other inmates. So you best pray that you actually did what you did to get there, because otherwise they will send you stuff like poison in your food, boogers and cum, razors in the food, like all sorts of stuff. Like they can't get to you physically, but they can get to you mentally. Now, again, there's a discussion to be had here, but like, why not just get rid in the Constitution of like the cruel and unjust crime? Because like this is cruel and unjust. Like let's be honest, So just say like no, like for some criminals we are okay with cruel and unjust, and that's different. But like seriously, the death penalty, I would probably not appeal it. Like if it ever happened to me with anything, I would just not appeal. I would just like fine, do it faster. Even if I didn't do it, I'll be like, no, I don't care. The chair is a horrible way to die, I know, but like living for 10 or 20 years like that, and again, like you have no person to talk to. Like there's nothing, it's just the room, that's it. Getting the chairs means that you have to sit in that room for 30 years. Yeah, like the sitting in that room for 30 years is what breaks you. I think like the chair is like, you're probably happy when the chair happens. The wood chipper. Yeah, no, like I'm not justifying anything, right? Like all I'm saying is that if you ever get convicted of some shit like that, then you best hope that you actually did the crime and they didn't do a mistake or a technicality or anything like that. And you actually did do the crime to deserve being there. Because, like, if a single innocent person ends up in that shit, that is hell on earth. Probably worse than hell on earth. Because, like, in hell, you don't have innocent people. Oh, you can develop headmates? Well, that's another thing that happens. Like, apparently, because I saw a documentary and it creeped the living shit out of me. The worst thing that happens is that when you're in that room, you don't develop any more memories. In other words, it's kind of like you're frozen in time, because yesterday looks like today, and tomorrow looks like yesterday. So like there's no more continuity in your life, right? Like the only thing that you remember is like the day you were locked up, and after that you're stuck in this headspace where you can't even develop new memories. You can't write, you can't do anything. It's insane. It's kind of like going hollow. Absolutely. The guy in the story should probably be on death row. I mean, it's hard not to argue. It's hard to argue against that, But again, it's like, from a Christian point of view, like if they genuinely don't understand what they did, like they're not capable of rationalizing it, and they don't know that what they're doing is wrong, punishing them is like punishing a 2-year-old, right? You're punishing a 2-year-old. The 2-year-old doesn't know. Well, actually, the 2-year-old may know. It's kind of like punishing a 1-year-old. So this is why the mental asylums are a good thing. There's no messing up with him. He's got 13 convictions. He's on video. There's no doubt that he is guilty. Wood chipper, foot first. Again, like, that room is worse than the wood chipper, in my opinion. Like, being placed in that room, even for, like, 1 year. The thing is, like, well, actually, you know what's interesting? This type of room is actually the prison within a prison. Like, for some jails, for some prisons, like, the solitary confinement is what breaks you. And so, like, for prisoners that misbehave, they get placed into that room. But for, like, maximum security prisoners, there's only that room. Nothing else. I think it's only the Americans that do that. Like, other countries have different prison systems. I don't know, like some are bad for different reasons. Like, in Russia, for instance, they have a way of kind of killing prisoners without really killing prisoners. What I mean by this is that they have certain prisons in Siberia where they purposefully allow prisoners to get sick. Like, probably, well, not necessarily like how Coach Red Pill died, but they allow pneumonia to go through the prison, right? And so, like, they don't try to stop it. And if you get sick, you get sick. There's no doctor, there's nothing, right? So, like, the prisoners that are an inconvenience for the state, they get sent up there. Now, take into account that maximum security can happen to people that don't commit the most serious of crimes. Like, for instance, political dissident. Like, what was the name of that guy that leaked the NSA shit? Snowden? Or what? No, not Snowden. I think, like, the other guy. Like, usually if you piss off the CIA or something like that, you also end up in a maximum security prison. So, sometimes it's not like the work. Oh yeah, the one with the Silk Road. I think they put him in a maximum security as well. Anyway, torture without torture? Well, simply, you get the little room. Yeah, Snowden it was. I need to see the math for the death penalty being more expensive. It's the cost that the state pays for your appeals. Like, the prosecutor gets, he's got a wage. The judge has a wage. Like, all of this stuff, plus the fact that you're usually, like, 30 years anyway. So like, when you get the death penalty, it's not just the chair, right? Like, you don't just get the chair. You usually sit in a prison for 30 years, which is kind of like similar to how much you get for max. Like, if you were to put me in a maximum security prison for life, like, I'm already 40 years old, right? Like, 30 years is probably how much I would get anyway. And so if you get the chair, it's like 40 years plus the 30 plus the chair. It's more expensive than just the plus the 30. Oh, he got pardoned. Yeah. Did he talk about his time in the Slammer? Snowden are going to hell if he returned to America? Do they still want him? By the way, I heard that Tucker Carlson is now a big fan of Muslims. I didn't know that. So, like, Tucker Carlson is big with Islam. I saw a video for someone.
I remember after 9/11, when I was, like, all about attacking Islam. I knew nothing about Islam. I'm not Muslim, by the way. I worked at CNN at the time, and, like, we had all these endless experts, most of whom kind of worked for the CIA, but whatever. I realized that later, but I remember who it was come on and be like, Islam is bad, and I was like, sounds bad, whatever. I don't know if I ever met a Muslim, but he's like, you know what Islam means? Submission. And, like, let it hang in the air, like that was self-evidently disgusting. And I was like, I kind of think submission to God is, like, the whole point of life, but I didn't say anything. I was like, I don't think I'm against that, actually.
Well, that's very interesting, Tucker. Okay, so if he likes the concept of submitting to God, how would he explain that the Catholic Church has been against Islam for so many years? Right? Like, at the end of the day, the Pope also thinks that you should submit to God, right? And the Muslims think that you should submit to God, so, like, why can't they be friends, Tucker? Who's paying him, by the way? Like, this is the first question that I want to ask, because it's not a one-off. Like, he's got more of these takes. First of all, Christianity, which allegedly is what he is, right? They don't talk about submitting to God. They do talk about fearing God. But they also talk about loving God. And the Christian God is not the same as the Muslim God. This is why, like, Muslims think that Christianity is a heresy. And there's another thing, right? Like, if you, like, let's assume Christianity is the real religion, right? Because, like, they can't both be the real religion. And I'll explain why in a bit. But let's assume that Christianity is the actual true religion. If you're a pious Muslim and you live the life exactly in the most halal way imaginable, according to Christianity, you're going to hell. Why are you going to hell? Well, for instance, if you had more than one wife, the fact that you reject Jesus Christ as the Lord and Savior, there's a plethora of reasons that if you're a Muslim and you have like the most halal life, you can't go to Christian heaven. Now, if the opposite is true, right? If Islam is real and Allah happens to be the one true God and Muhammad is his prophet, every single Christian, no matter how good your life is, no matter how pious you are, you go to hell. Why? Well, because you drank alcohol, because you didn't pray to Mecca, facing Mecca, you didn't do the pilgrimage, you didn't follow the 7 pillars. And so, like, both religions can't be true. Now, what I noticed in 2025, and this is, like, something that is quite prominent on the internet, people are trying to use the mechanisms of religion to fix society. But that's not how religion is supposed to function. Like, religion is about spirituality and your soul first and foremost, right? So, if you're not concerned about heaven and hell and saving your soul, you can't just say, oh, well, it's good because it's, like, people submitting to God. It's like, okay, but which God? And you'll be like, well, a society that has a God is more orderly than another. It's like, okay, fine, but that's not the purpose of religion. You can have religion. You can have orderly societies if you have the Chinese model. There's no need for religion. Just crack down on people, beat the living shit out of criminals. No tolerance for crime. Doesn't matter. Have like the most brutal authoritarian regime imaginable, and you have an orderly society without religion. There's no need for people to fear God is watching. Is the CCTV is actually on, and the AI algorithm is tracking everything you do and say. It's just that the politicians have no interest in maintaining an orderly society. But if they wanted to, we saw in California. Within 4 days of Chairman Z arriving, California was clean. And not only that, but the governor also assured that no extra money was spent. So if politicians would actually want to accomplish a crime-free city, they could with the technology that we have today, absolutely no doubt about it. If you want religion, religion is spiritual first and foremost, and it's for the soul. It's not, oh, well, we need religion to fix society, blah, blah, blah. No. This idea means that, well, any religion can work, right? So, like what Tucker is saying, it's like, well, it's like submitting to God. That's a good thing. That's the purpose of life. Okay, Tucker, sure. Go tell that to a Muslim that you're okay with him worshiping Allah as long as he is okay with you worshiping Jesus. See how that ends up. You can't fix crime with the surveillance? Okay, tell that to the truckers. There have been just so many riots and protests that were fixed in China overnight. Like, people just can't get into the bus. All of a sudden, people disappear. No, you can. It's just that no one has interest in fixing crime. You absolutely can fix crime. Who told you that you can't fix crime without surveillance? Let me have a camera into your house and I guarantee to you, you won't commit the crime. I just need like 4 thugs on speed dial and a camera into your home, and that's that. The only problem is, like, there's no interest in fixing crime. There's no political will in fixing crime, so there you go. Christian morality is based on religion. So we were created in God's image. Therefore, we have human rights. Yeah, but that's fine. It's 2025. Like, you can use social media to manipulate what people think and make them believe anything you want. You can pick and choose which part of Christianity you want people to believe, and you can pick and choose which parts they don't want to believe, and there you go. Like for instance, suffer not the sorcerer to live. How many people believe that today? No one. People believe that witchcraft isn't real. And so, right? Like, you can manipulate people to pick and choose, to believe certain things over others, so on and so forth. Islam is the only major religion that has as its core fundamental command that it must not allow the existence of other religions enforced by death. Yeah, so when Tucker is like, oh yeah, well, this is submitting to God, that's interesting. But like, here's the thing, right? If you don't believe that Islam is real, which Tucker probably doesn't, because I assume he's a Christian, right? So if you don't believe Islam is real, then when it says submit, it doesn't mean like submit to God. It means like submit to the people that talk on behalf of God. So it means like submitting to the imams. Like, why would you believe that the imams have your best interests at heart, Tucker? It's insane. The original was thou shalt not suffer a poisoner to live. But even that, you know, like how many people believe that today? Like if someone is guilty of poisoning, he gets a couple of years in prison and then he comes out, he's a rehabilitated member of society and he's getting to walk free, right? People who base everything on religion are fundamentally unreliable. There aren't that many people that based everything on religion. Maybe there are, but not around me, you know, not around my vicinity. But like, yeah, I think like moderation is good in everything. I wouldn't want like a person that's a militant atheist, and I wouldn't want a person that constantly argues using Bible quotes every time, all the time. It is what it is, you know. Every single one cherry picks the part of the religion that benefits them at the moment. Oh, that's an evangelical thing. Orthodox don't really do that as much. But anyway, right. I'll end it here. Thank you guys so much for the super chats. Thank you for watching the stream, and I'll see you guys tomorrow. Take care.